Pat is dead. Bury it. Consider this mercy.
Tell me. Do you bleed?
Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Don't be afraid!
The Last Airbender.
I lost everyone I've ever loved. Then they locked me away.
Sucker Punch. What do all three of these movies possibly have in common? Those are just three of the movies that I've seen in the last 20 years that I can consider to be the worst of the worst. The worst movies I've seen in the last 20 years. And welcome to Talking About the Movies, where of course I'm continuing my celebration of 20 years of covering the biggest new releases of the weekend. And this is one of those weekends where there's no big new release out there for me to cover. So I get a little bit of a break from that, but we go back to the anniversary specials that I've been doing. We've already looked at the best movies of the last 20 years, so let's look at the polar opposite. What are the 20 worst movies that I've ever seen in the last 20 years of me doing this show? Well, this one is also going to be kind of tricky to do because I've pretty much covered all these movies I'm about to talk about in great detail. There's no significant changes overall, except for a couple of movies I put at the bottom, bottom two. But other than that, though, everything else I pretty much have already covered in great detail. So you get through this one pretty quickly. So let's just go ahead and just jump right on into it. Let's start off with the well, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Anyway, let's just get to it. Like I said, I'm losing my train of thought here. But these are my top 10 worst movies that I have seen in the last 20 years. Number 10 on the list, we have Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. This was coming at a time when Warner Brothers thought that they were going to be so smart in outsmarting Disney and Marvel by basically doing what Marvel had done in half the time in terms of creating their cinematic universe. But the problem is, when you take half the time to do that, the end result is not going to be as strong as you think it is. Case in point, how they put together the whole thing with this DC cinematic universe as a whole. And it began right near the starting point with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, in which, following his titanic struggle against General Zod, Metropolis has been razed to the ground, and Superman is the most controversial figure in the world. While for many he is still an emblem of hope, a growing number of people consider him a threat to humanity, seeking justice for the chaos he has brought to Earth. As far as Bruce Wayne is concerned, Superman is clearly a danger to society. He fears for the future of the world with such a reckless power left ungoverned, and so he dons his mask and cape to right Superman's wrongs. The rivalry between them is furious, fueled by bitterness and vengeance, and nothing can dissuade them from waging this war. However, a dark new threat arises in the form of a third man, one who has a power greater than either one of them to endanger the world and cause total destruction. See, that's where you can read into that and read a lot of the problems with the movie from the get-go. The fact that Darkseid is in this movie. Darkseid is supposed to be a pivotal character to Superman way later down the road, and they're trying to bring him in here in the second movie of this cinematic universe. And when he throw him in there, it's just like, believe me, it's one of the many, many problems this movie has. Because, yeah, this is a really bad movie, and it starts off with the obvious elephant in the room, and that is the fact that Zack Snyder was a bad choice to make this movie. I get it. He made Man of Steel, but this is a guy who has literally said that he does not like Superman and he likes Batman more. And it's just this is not a good movie at all. I mean, it keeps you on the edge of your seat for the first 20 minutes, and you think the first 20 minutes is just like, okay, this is actually not that bad. I mean, there are people in this movie who are actually trying. Like, Ben Affleck is really good as Batman. Like, I remember when people were bitching and moaning about him being cast as Batman, kind of like how Michael Keaton and Robert Pattinson were cast. But then, lo and behold, it turned out to be a really good Batman overall. I mean, Gal Gadot was pretty good, too. This was the first time that she got the chance to show what she could do as Wonder Woman, and she paid it off. Some of the fighting sequences were actually kind of cool. And yeah, the cameos in here for the Justice League, they felt kind of rushed, but they were just kind of it was good to see a glimpse of what was to come overall. I thought what we were going to get was going to be really cool. But then the rest of the movie happens, and the story really is a gigantic clusterfuck. I mean, they really did not they did not need to make this as sloppy and as messy as they needed to be. You could have easily just had a simple story that had Batman and Superman fighting over something, solely on the events of the previous movie. And even the opening part suggests that that's going to be something that they reference here, kind of like how Age of Ultron made references to the first Avengers movie. But then by the final action scene, they just completely skip over it and end up causing even more destruction and death than Man of Steel did. But it's okay, though, because the movie has to make references about how every area that is going to be they are in is going to be uninhabited, and everybody has gone home for the day. And they're just like, no, you don't get to say that stuff and try to convince us that that's not the case at all. But on top of that, the title fight between Batman and Superman, the thing that we waited almost 2 hours to get to, is such a anticlimax. I mean, the thing doesn't even end up paying off in the end. And like I said, the last fight scene with Doomsday just seems so tacked on. I mean, this could have easily just been a final climax between Batman and Superman and Lex Luthor, just kind of like the Batman-Superman movie they did in the 90s for the TV shows. But no. You could have said Doomsday for Justice League, but no. We had to get him in there because he's fan service. And once again, they do a shitty job with that because it looks absolutely horrible. It looks like a Ninja Turtle. He looks more like Abomination from the Incredible Hulk. That's how bad it is when DC has to resort to plagiarizing Marvel in the process. And yeah, the casting overall, it's not that good. I mean, the casting overall is pretty bad. And then you get to the biggest cluster of them all, Jar Jar Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg's a great actor, but I'm sorry, they took one of the most badass characters ever and turned him into one of the most annoying characters of all time. He is so annoying, he's so over the top. I mean, my God, they didn't even try to capture Lex's persona in past movies. He's only there to be the most annoying, the most lamest, and the most stereotypically bad villain you could possibly think of. Every time he started talking, it's just kind of shut the fuck up. He wouldn't shut up. And, yeah, it's just, I mean, this movie, I said it back when this movie came out, this is this generation's Phantom Menace. It's a movie where the people who are so positive about this are going to love it no matter what, but the people who are smart and use their brain and actually look at what they see, they know right from the get-go, this is a steaming pile of garbage. And, yeah, over time, people, I think, have come to the realization that Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is just not a good movie at all. And, yeah, I still stand by it saying that this is this generation's Phantom Menace. It's that bad of a movie. So what does that make our number 9 movie? Another DC movie that I've talked a lot of smack about because, rightfully, it deserves it. And that is, of course, The Flash, number 9 on this list. I have not said anything positive about this movie since it came out, and I will continue not to say anything positive about it because it's a fucking terrible movie. I mean, it's so fitting that Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice was the start of this train wreck from the beginning, and yet a bigger train wreck in The Flash is the perfect end result of this DC extended universe that they have, because they took something that could have been so good and so impressive and just completely tarnished it, and the ways that this company tried so hard to save this movie, even though it was clear that Ezra Miller is not right in his head and somebody that should not be praised for this, and the fact that this movie looks so terrible that they had to literally come out and say, it's okay, it's supposed to look bad. Remember the movie It? We got the same director. The big differences between It and The Flash, though, was that It was knew it was intended to be bad. I mean, it's a movie about a dancing clown that kills children. I mean, come on. I mean, we're not supposed to be taking that seriously, even though Pennywise still scares the living bejesus out of anybody. And those movies worked. This was a lame excuse to try to cover up your own ass. And, you know, they're trying to bring in the whole multiverse thing. Everyone was making such a big deal about Michael Keaton coming back as Batman. Well, you know what? You had Michael Keaton back as Batman with Batgirl, but guess what? Warner Brothers decided to push it off, decided to bury it because of its stupid CEO. And The Flash is an example of what happens when you take an idea that could be interesting and could work and just completely dismantle it. The moment this movie fell apart for good was the final climax of the movie, where you have all these different iterations of classic characters from the DC universe. Yeah, it's cool to see Nicolas Cage as Superman if it looked like he was actually there, which he doesn't. it's cool to see Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater there as Superman and Supergirl. Again, if they were actually there, and if you didn't decide to completely dismantle their reputation by immediately killing them off as soon as you showed them, like, all these problems are all throughout the movie, and it's just unbelievable how bad this movie is, how disastrous of a film this is. And this is one of those movies that I keep thinking about it every once every couple months. I'm just thinking to myself, how did you screw this up so badly? I mean, this is such a disastrous film on so many levels. Even more disastrous than Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I mean, Batman v Superman at least had a purpose. At least you were trying to do something with it. But this thing just fell apart right from the get-go, and right from the fact that, you know, Ezra Miller was caught in all these legal issues and controversies, and Warner Brothers was trying so hard to save this movie, no matter how hard they tried. But it failed so miserably. It's a disaster. It's a mess of a movie. It's one of the most atrocious things you will ever see in your entire life. I hate this movie. The Flash is number 9 on my list of the worst movie I've seen in the last 20 years. So now we're kind of heading into the movies I've kind of gone into great detail on in other videos, and also the top 30 worst movies I've ever done. So if you want to go check that out, I'll leave a link in the corner for you. But number 8 on my list of the 30 top 30 worst movies I'm thinking of. But in my list of the 10 worst movies I've seen in the last 20 years, number 8 on the list is Elektra. And again, thank God for Deadpool and Wolverine for giving this character some new life to her, because man, this movie really didn't do it. This is one of those movies that comes around where, you know, it's trying to be like another Catwoman. I guess Fox really thought that Catwoman was going to be the big breakout hit, and so they said, "Oh shit, we got to put together a movie quickly." And they somehow made a movie that's about as bad as Catwoman is, except not quite as bad, because Catwoman, I think, is still a much worse film. But you know, this is a movie where Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner, has severed all ties with the world, living only for her next assignment. But in an unexpected turn of events, she's forced to make a decision that could take her life in a new direction or destroy her. Key players in Elektra's journey are Stick, played by Terrence Stamp, a blind martial artist master responsible for Elektra's resurrection, and Mark Miller, played by Goran Visnik, and Abby, played by Kirsten Pratt, a father and daughter on the run from the Hand, a powerful syndicate whose members practice the dark martial arts and ninjutsu. Again, the plot alone describes many of the problems with the movie. There's so many cliches in this film that I don't like. I'm sick and tired of them having a mythical spirit who has no purpose being there, except because he has no connection to the character of Daredevil at all. And Stick was the one who helped Daredevil out become the hero that he would eventually become. Plus, they throw in that stupid father-daughter plotline that has no purpose whatsoever. The action sequences are terrible, the story is god-awful, and I'm sorry, Jennifer Garner just wasn't Elektra in this movie. It's a poor excuse to attempt to squeeze whatever life was left of this series, and it fails miserably. And it even goes for the cheapest attempts at sex appeal. Like, there's a scene where a female antagonist comes in and gives Elektra a lesbian kiss, to give the 13-year-olds watching this a hard-on, their first boner, or something like that. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, you really cannot be this stupid. And this is one of many movies we're going to get to here, where they have all these movies that are supposed to have these strong female leads in here. You want to see movies where they have strong female leads? Go look at Fargo. Go look at Whip It. Go look at Juno. It's not that hard to make a strong female character who's on the same level of a lead male character. But no, most Hollywood executives think about only one thing about women in film. That's the fact that women are things. I mean, that's what their thinking is. I mean, luckily, we've had it it's been way too long since then. However, way too long since this movie, where we finally are starting to get Hollywood executives to realize that, okay, women aren't just things. We can actually make them very interesting characters. And we've been seeing that a lot, especially in comic book movies. But not with this movie, and certainly not with some of the other movies we're going to get to on this list here. So, yeah, not much more to say about that one. That's Elektra. So, number 7 coming up. Number 7 on the list, the final nail in the coffin for District 9 director Neil Blomkamp, and that is Chappie. This is a film that is one of those examples where you just hate every single thing in this movie. You hate the main character, you hate the title character, you hate all the other characters he's around, you hate the story, you hate everything about this movie. This is just a bad movie. I hate this movie because every character is your typical stock character. You've got the stereotypical smart guy, played by Dev Patel. You got the naive hero who starts off not very smart, but becomes a badass at the end. You have the cartoon villains. You have the henchmen. You have the obvious people who are going to be killed off. You have the asshole boss. Not only have we seen this done before in every action movie like this, but every single Neil Blomkamp movie up to this point has done that. It's amazing how... I just talked about District 9 yesterday on Time About the Movies, and it's amazing how this director fell off. I mean, this is a guy that had everything. He was the king of the world, showing that you can make a blockbuster movie with a small budget. And what happens? They give him a bigger budget, and it completely ruins his ebb and flow. It doesn't help when every single movie is literally the same thing. You have a human hero, you've got a creature, you've got robots, you've got cartoonish villains, South African crime mobs, a dick-headed boss. It's just like... This is absolutely unbelievable how bad this movie is. The marketing for this movie was abysmal. Like, there's one poster that I keep talking about, like this one right here, and it's just like, what am I even looking at here? Like, I mean, this is a bad movie. This is a really, really terrible movie. Everything about this movie is everything that's wrong with with blockbusters in general, and how this director completely fell off. Like, this is such a joke. It took a once-respected up-and-coming director and just shows that he does not give a shit anymore. He basically turned into the M. Night Shyamalan of sci-fi movies, and this is just so awful. It's annoying. The characters are terrible. The villains are bad. The story is extremely predictable. This is about as bad as it gets for him. But, hey, M. Night Shyamalan is not completely avoidable on this list here, even though he's had a nice comeback in the last 10 years. Let's move on to number 6 of the list of the worst movies I've seen in the last 20 years. And that is, of course, The Last Airbender. And like I've said before, when M. Night Shyamalan tells you he's a fan of a project and wants to make a movie off of it, don't you believe him. Do not believe him at all, because you get extremely terrible movies like The Last Airbender. A movie where they try to cram everything from the first season into one movie. And that's just something that you cannot do with a story like this. I mean, you cannot just cram, 13 half-hour episodes into a 2-hour movie and do it the way that he did it here. Because this is unbelievable how bad this movie is. Like, how do you do this to The Last Airbender? The characters are badly represented. The acting is terrible. The young actors in here are terrible. The visuals are bad. I mean, the visuals are so bad, they completely ignore everything about what these powers can do in the animated series, and what they do in the movie are much less than what they do in the animated series. Like, it's unbelievable how terrible this movie is. The 3D is awful. I couldn't believe my eyes. This guy, it's amazing that this didn't kill M. Night Shyamalan's career, because this movie could have easily killed his career as a whole as a director, and yet somehow he made a comeback in the last decade. Like, that's amazing to think about, that, he has these, he makes a couple good movies, Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, and then he just goes on the next 13 years with one bad movie after another, and then he makes a comeback with The Visit, and then Split, and then Glass, and then Old, and then Knock at the Cabin, and Trap. I mean, not every one of those movies is great, but they're certainly a lot better than a lot of his terrible movies he was making between Signs and The Visit. I mean, this right here, this is the bottom of the barrel. This is the worst of the worst. And I'll give it this, though. It at least gave me a chance to watch the original animated series when I saw this and realized that, oh, wow, this is absolutely horrendous. I can't believe how badly he screwed this up. So yeah, there you go. That's The Last Airbender, my number 6 pick of my worst movies of the last 20 years of doing this show. What will the top 5 bring us? Well, we're going to find out after this message from not our sponsor, but a quick break. We'll be right back. This fall, the Reviewing Network Live doubles down on the NFL fun with the first ever Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch. For the first time ever, I'll be doing live rewatches of between 6 to 8 Sunday night marquee NFL matchups for the 2025 NFL season. Which games will they be? Well, we find out together when the schedule is released by the NFL this coming Wednesday. So join me Wednesday night at 12 a.m. Eastern Time on the Reviewing Network Live YouTube channel for the first ever Sunday Night NFL Rewatch Schedule Special, where I run down the schedule and select the games I will be covering this fall. Don't miss the Reviewing Network Live Sunday Night NFL Rewatch Schedule Special this Wednesday night at 12 a.m. Eastern on the Reviewing Network Live. Welcome back. Now let's go ahead and get to the top 5 worst movies I've seen in the last 20 years. And once again, a movie I pretty much recently covered already. Number 5 on the list is Aliens in the Attic. I recently just covered this on Time About the Movie, so once again, I'll be brief. The film is about the Pearsons, a family whose busy lifestyle leads the dad, played by Kevin Nealon, to say that a family vacation is needed. So the dad, the younger sister Hannah, teenage son Tom, and older sister Bethany, played by Ashley Tisdale, along with her boyfriend Ricky, all go to the vacation home. Shortly after the Pearsons arrive at the sprawling summer home, however, things start to get strange as dark clouds start to swirl overhead. 4 glowing objects blast through the sky on a collision course with the Pearsons' roof, and so the alien invasion and the bullshittery begins. I mean, this is one of the movies where I walked out of the theater. I very rarely do this, but this was one of those ones where it's just like, I can't take this anymore. The moment you have a mind-controlling Doris Roberts who does some of the worst stunts I've ever seen, that's the point where I walked out, because I just couldn't take it anymore. It's essentially a ripoff of the much better Spider-Man Chronicles, or, I mean, if we want to go into more recent terms, The Day the Earth Blew Up was a much more convincing alien invasion family film for kids than this pile of garbage. Yeah, not much more to say about it. I've already covered a lot of the basis of why I hate this movie. Aliens in the Attic, number 5 on the list, so on to number 4. And not surprisingly, we have the first movie I ever walked out of in the theater, and that is, of course, The Spirit from Frank Miller. Again, covered this pretty much already, so we can be quick on to this, but, down the mean streets a man must come, a hero born, murdered, and born again, when a rookie cop named Denny Colt returns from the beyond as the Spirit, a hero whose mission is to fight against the bad forces from the shadows of Central City, the octopus who kills anyone unfortunate enough to see him face through has other plans. He's going to wipe out the entire city. The Spirit tracks this cold-hearted killer from the city's run-down warehouses to the damp catacombs to the wind-swept waterfront, all the while facing a bevy of beautiful women who either want to seduce, love, or kill the masked crusader. This guy is basically just a swinger as a superhero, because every woman in this movie wants to bang him. Even when they don't want to bang him, he just is like, the movie basically says, no, you have to want to bang this guy or else we're going to kill you off. And, like, it makes no sense whatsoever. This movie gets so boring right away, and, like, there's times when it's just like, okay, I want to leave this movie. I want to leave this film. And of course, the moment that made me want to leave was when they kill off this cat in the most stupidest, cartoonish way possible. At that point, I couldn't take it, and I left the fucking theater. And I got a refund, even though I didn't really pay for the movie because I used a free movie cash coupon. But I really felt offended watching this movie. And Frank Miller, man, Frank Miller used to mean something to people. But it's amazing how after all these years, his career was completely tarnished by making these god-awful pieces of work. Not just movies like this, but stuff like Holy Terror and All-Star Batman and Robin and The Dark Knight Strikes Again. It's just like, what was he thinking making this movie? It's just like, it's unbelievable how terrible this movie is. The biggest mistake, I think, it was the fact that this is a PG-13 rated movie. This is a movie that's very similar to Sin City, which was rated R, which is what this movie should have been, and it just doesn't work at all. This is the first film I ever walked out of in my life, and yeah, I'll never forget that moment when I walked out of it. I just couldn't take it anymore because I hated everything about this movie. And then that moment when the cat gets killed, it's just like, okay, I can't take this anymore. It's just the way they kill it off too, and the way they use it for comedy's sake, and it's just like, I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it anymore. So yeah, that's The Spirit, number 4 on the list. On to number 3. And like I said, we've covered a lot of movies where the women come off as extremely sexist. I mean, it's every woman out here comes off as somebody that either wants to fuck, marry, or bang, or kill the guy in this. And you want to talk about one of the most sexist movies you've ever seen in your life? That's number 3 on this list. The worst thing Zack Snyder has ever directed, no question about it. Sucker Punch. I mean, I've talked about this movie to death as well, but in this film you have a story where, you know, Emily Browning stars as a young woman who is committed to a mental institution. In order to cope, she envisions the asylum as a brothel and teams up with 4 dancers/prisoners to escape before she undergoes the lobotomy. As she collects the items she needs to escape, she enters another level of fantasy in which the women become strong, experienced warriors. If you have to say that in your plot description, you clearly have no idea what it means to be a strong, experienced warrior and a woman. Like, it does not make any sense whatsoever. And where do you even begin with a movie like this? I mean, the music is bad, the score is terrible, The visuals are terrible. This is a bleak-looking movie that just gets worse and worse as the film goes on. And like Zack Snyder apparently has this big fetish with girls in bondage, because there are so many shots in this movie where they're wearing nothing but bondage and spandex clothes, because clearly this is what it takes to be a strong, experienced warrior of a woman. And the men and women in here are all stereotypical as all hell. Men are either douchebags, perverts, pedophiles, guys who start incest, or stupid. And the women act either helpless, don't do shit whatsoever, something happens, and they act like abused housewives. It's the most offensive portrayal of not just women, but men as well. This is a movie that's supposed to show female empowerment and show lead female characters who can be strong and independent and be great action heroes, and they did nothing with it because, like with Frank Miller, Zack Snyder doesn't know how to write strong and independent women. It says a lot when you can look at other movies like Alien, for example, Ellen Ripley, or even an animated movie like The Secret of NIMH with Mrs. Brisby. Those are strongly written female characters in movies and action movies. And yeah, Secret of NIMH is not really an action movie, but I trust more this. But you can buy into more of Mrs. Brisby's plight with any of these women in this movie. Like this is unbelievable. And Zack Snyder got the blessing to do Superman because of this. I don't know why. I thought Warner Brothers got bad when David Zaslav took over, but no. Apparently it was bad 10 years prior to that. But yeah, this is a bad movie, and it was basically the end of Zack Snyder. Me getting excited for a Zack Snyder movie at this point, because he just made a really good movie with Legend of the Guardians, which nobody went to go see, which is a criminally underrated movie, and one you should definitely check out. But this is absolutely horrible. This is the worst thing Zack Snyder has ever done. And just such a terrible, terrible film. Sucker Punch, number 3 on the list. Moving on to number 2, and as you probably already saw if you saw my top 30 worst movies, the top 2 films both came out the very same year, and both have very similar plots to them. Number 2 is Transcendence. And Transcendence was a movie where Johnny Depp starred as Dr. Will Castor, the foremost researcher in the field of artificial intelligence, working to create a sentient machine that combines the collective intelligence of everything ever known with a full range of human emotions. His highly controversial experiments have made him famous, but they have also made him the prime target of anti-technology extremists who will do whatever it takes to stop him. However, in their attempts to destroy Will, they inadvertently become the catalyst for him to succeed to be a participant in his own transcendence. For his wife, Evelyn, played by Rebecca Hall, and best friend Max Waters, played by Paul Bettany, both fellow researchers, the question is not if they can, but if they should. Their worst fears are realized as Will's thirst for knowledge evolves into a seemingly omnipresent quest for power, to what end is unknown. The only thing that is being terrifyingly clear is that there may be no way to stop him. Now, the only thing that is becoming terrifyingly clear is that this movie is completely 100% boring and nothing happens. This is like if the Lawnmower Man did the exact same storyline, except it turned Jeff Fahey's character from a retarded lawnmower guy to a psychotic killer in the cyber world. It just basically turned him into made him even more of a retarded lawnmower guy. Like, nothing really happens in this movie. Like, this is like a bad mix of Akira, Chronicle, Inception, and Blade Runner, Star Trek, Star Wars, Revolution, basically any sci-fi franchise that's ever been made into a horrible piece of garbage, because this is a film that is so ungodly awful, because it's one of those movies where nothing about it makes any sense whatsoever, and everything is so unsubtle. Like, you can literally predict every single thing that happens. One of the big things right from the get-go is where Will's at a seminar, one of the people asked in the audience, are you trying to make your own god? It's just like, lines like that perfectly sum up the movie. Then 30 seconds later, that guy shoots him. So it's trying to be symbolic and subtle, but failing miserably because the writer clearly doesn't know anything about subtle and symbolic elements at all watching this. And it doesn't help that everybody else in the cast is an idiot. Rebecca Hall playing Will's wife, I hated her because she makes it seem like she's only doing these dangerous experiments because that's what Will would have wanted. No, she wants her husband back, and she never figures it out after all this happens because of her. Like, everything that they try to tell her, that everyone tries to tell her, this is wrong, it's inhumane, but no, she doesn't listen because she wants that dick. I mean, that's really what it comes down to with this movie. Like, she wants to get laid badly. So it's just like, go have sex with Paul Bettany. He's right there. Like, why do you gotta wait for Johnny Depp at this point? Like, and the visuals don't work. It's just such an ungodly mess of a movie. It cost $100 million to make. Where did that money go? Like, again, I've gone into greater detail on this. Transcendence. number 2 on the list. So let's go ahead and get to the worst movie. Not only the worst movie I've seen in the last 20 years, but the worst movie I have ever seen, period. Number 1 on the list, which is Lucy. I absolutely hate this movie. Scarlett Johansson plays a woman who gets caught in a dark deal, turning the tables on her captors and transforming into a merciless warrior evolved beyond human logic. So it kind of has a lot of the same problems mixed with Transcendence and Sucker Punch in this movie too. But let's also add the a guy who's clearly lost his way with Luc Besson. Like, I felt like I lost a bunch of my brain cells watching this movie. I could not believe how terrible this movie was. When I got out of the theater 11 years ago after watching this, I was literally questioning life itself. Like, I was wondering, how did we get to this point? I'm wondering how something this bad can make it to theaters and become a blockbuster hit. My only guess is because Scarlett Johansson was the big name draw at the time. You know, she was just in The Winter Soldier. She'd been up for Academy Award nominations. Everyone loved Scarlett Johansson, and it's just like this is about as bad as it gets. This is a film where it made Transcendence look like a better movie. That's how bad this movie is. It fails to explain it well, but at least they tried to explain what they were doing in Transcendence. This doesn't even try. Luc Besson is just, he's lost his way, man. Like, he has clearly lost his way. There were basically 2 key elements of action films today: car chases and shootouts, spliced in with pointless stock footage to show off the director's artistic BS or symbolism. And not only that is that prevalent in this movie, the action is bland. Scarlett Johansson doesn't do anything interesting in this movie. Angelina Jolie and Salt look better by comparison, and that's a terrible movie too. Like, Morgan Freeman, you can never do anything wrong with him, but even he's completely wasted in this movie. This movie doesn't even give Lucy anything to do. There's 2 scenes where she's got the bad guys right where she wants them, defenseless, can't do anything to stop her, and then she just lets them go. For no particular reason. Like, these are the guys that completely screwed your life over. Kill them! Do something, for God's sake! But no, she doesn't do that. Nothing ever gets explained. They never talk about why this is happening to Lucy. They don't explain why she needs to do this. They never explain what the purpose of this whole thing is. This film is just a disaster. Like, this is one of those movies that I'll never forget when I sat in this theater. I was squirming the entire movie. I couldn't take it. It was bad right from the get-go, and I was just kind of like, this has got to get better, right? Something's got to happen in here, and nope, never did. I spent nearly 2 hours of my life sitting there, flabbergasted by what I was seeing with this movie. This is a disastrous mess of a film that is one of the worst single experience I've ever had in a movie theater, and this is about as bad as it gets. This movie is awful. This film is just absolutely 100% awful. Avoid Lucy like the plague. It's not only the worst movie I've seen in the last 20 years, but it's the worst movie I have ever seen in my entire life. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the 10 worst movies I've seen in the last 20 years. Again, a lot of movies you've heard me talk about in great lengths on other videos. So yeah, this really wasn't much of a shocker to most people overall, but I mean, that's how it is. That's what a lot of the worst movies I've seen in the last 20 years were. Some of the worst movies I've ever seen came out in the last 20 years. So I don't really know what else to tell you. I could have just redone the whole list altogether, which I was thinking about doing, but at this point it was just kind of like, you know, I probably shouldn't at this point. I probably could have done it, but it was already too late for me to do it. So yeah, that's my list of the 10 worst movies I've seen in the last 20 years. So with that said, that's going to wrap this special edition of Talking About the Movies up. But next time we meet, we've got some new reviews coming up, including Final Destination Bloodlines and Hurry Up Tomorrow, the new weekend movie that'll be coming up on next week's show. But until then, thank you so much for watching this. And if you want to hear what I had to say about Thunderbolts and Another Simple Favor, go ahead and check out the previous video I did. Check out some of the other episodes. And we will leave you with some of the movies now in theaters and my thoughts on those movies. So I'll see you guys next time. With all that said, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.